Part 3.
Yeah.
The court case.
Hi everybody, so we're back and Glenn's lost a testicle.
Poor Glenn.
The charges have been upped. I'm now have a court date. It's scheduled for a week. But just as an aside, prior to the court case, and now I'm married. Vicky and I have got married, and we got married in 1991. Yes, February.
Let's not go there.
February 1991. And I get called to Vicky's house. Her family were some well-known criminals in Sydney as well.
God, you hang around with some
I know.
good types.
Her uncle Dennis was a hitman.
He's upped his game now.
So I get called to Vicky's house where there's a number of gentlemen.
Would you call them that?
Well,
Would we call them gentlemen?
a number of gangsters, sitting, literally gangsters. And a guy had been brought in from Melbourne. And they knew that the court case was coming up and that I was looking at around 7 years jail if I was found guilty. And they said, look, we can maybe make sure this doesn't go to trial if you don't want to have a court case. And I was like, oh, okay, what do you mean? And
Plea bargain or something?
and I was pretty naive, I think, I don't know. But they were very matter of fact, and this was just normal conversation. It was, well, we'll just have him killed. And the bloke that had been brought up from Melbourne was the one that was going to kill him.
The hitman.
The hitman. And they said, I can't even think of his name. But I did read about him a couple of years later in the Melbourne Underworld killings, and this bloke got murdered. It was one of the ones in the Melbourne Underworld killings, and I'm like, shit, that's the bloke who was going to
Knock off.
bump Glenn Feeney. And I was like, no, I'll take my chances at court. Don't kill him. It's like, fuck, this is serious.
No.
And they're like, well, okay, anyway. So we go to court, I go to court, and they elect the jury, and then all of a sudden one of the jurors has to excuse himself because he raises the point that he used to work with my father and there would be a conflict of interest. I'd never met the bloke. But anyway, we're down to 11 jurors. My dad never spoke to that bloke again. He went, why would you announce that? No one knew but you. What difference does it make? And all you had to do was sit there and find my son not guilty.
Yeah,
My dad never spoke to him again.
fair enough.
So we had 11 jurors. The trial did go for a full week. I think the only thing that I said honestly on the stand was my name and address. And I just never admitted anything. No, it didn't happen. No, it didn't happen. I didn't hit him. I didn't punch him. I didn't do anything. And I'd never made a statement to the police otherwise. I refused to comment until the lawyers said, and they always say, don't say a word. And so I just said, no, it didn't happen. And my barrister threw enough doubt to say this bloke's a well-known Sydney armed robber. We were allowed to introduce his full criminal history because he wasn't the one on trial. And so his credibility was on the line. We were able to introduce enough doubt that this bloke could have been belted anywhere that night because what he does for a living is risky, and he's just looking for a big payout from the Sydney Entertainment Centre. He's got in a fight somewhere else. And I think what the clincher was for me, Glenn was in the stand, and Glenn was a rough character, as I said, well-known Sydney armed robber. And he's sitting there giving his evidence, and he had some chewing gum in his mouth, and he's sitting there chewing away, and he dropped it out of his mouth, bent down, picked it up, put it back in his mouth and continued on. And I reckon right there and then the jury went, not sure what happened, but I reckon if you did get belted,
Just wasn't a credible.
you deserved it.
Yeah, just wasn't a credible person.
No, and on the Friday then the jury went out. They were out for 3 hours, came back, and I was scared at that stage then because, you got to stand up and the jury's, the judge, have you reached a decision? Yes. And you're like, on the first count of assault, maliciously inflict grievous bodily harm, guilty, not guilty, not guilty. And I was like the relief was just Second charge, assault occasion, actual bodily harm, guilty, not guilty. Assault, not guilty. So I was found not guilty on all charges, thankfully. But as I said, I mean, I did it. Yes, I was guilty. But wow.
Bad boy.
Yeah.
Bad boy.
And I'd do it all again too if somebody spat in my face. Hopefully in these days, this time, no one's spitting in anyone's face. COVID-19, distance yourself.
Don't accidentally.
So that's it. I've got a lot more, a few other stories to tell in some other upcoming videos. Elton John.
Nothing as
We'll talk about Elton.
sketchy as this.
No.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.